So this is the USB part of the SpeedLink joystick that I'm putting into a little box so that I can use Amiga joysticks, including the SpeedLink I converted on the PC. There have been quite a few design decisions involved. This is a just a little lid, came with a box, a little packet of screws. So I made this dent in here with a file. Looked like the middle at the time, so did the switch, but they're not in the same spot. Oh well. And a little toggle switch. And then on this side, a hole for the DB9 and some holes for some screws to hold it in place. So I have removed the switch from the PCB. I just snipped it off. It's a lot of desoldering. There were 4 points to hold it plus 6. I just snipped it off. And I have shortened the USB cable, soldered the switch wires on and covered them in hot glue. Wires tend to break where there's the end of the solder and then the strands start. They tend to snap off there quite readily. But if that area is reinforced with something, even heat shrink can go a long way. The wires tend not to snap. I actually snapped one of these USB wires off just handling it. So something to keep in mind. And this just slots down into here quite nicely. I did trim off some of this to get some more clearance. I'd planned to use a box where the lid kind of comes down the sides a little bit, but they're out of stock. And this was cheaper anyway. So that goes on there. And this is a little bit haphazard of me, I know, I'm sorry. That's just how this channel often goes. When I'm making things like this, I'm sort of careful to not paint myself into a corner any more quickly than I have to. So I can undo the nut on this switch and pull the switch out, and then I'm free of the box. Eventually I'll put some hot glue on these contacts back here, and probably hot glue this in a position because there's play there. But that'll be the last step. Even the DB9, figuring out how that's going to go, I've got these screws come out of here. They're just sitting in there for the time being. I'm gluing these nuts on with some super glue, so the screws are just clamping them in place while the glue goes off. So that goes like that, right? So even if I soldered the DB9 to the PCB, this can come out. I don't have to thread it through the casing, which I'd have to do if it was on the outside. Just things like that. And I had been going to solder onto these old wires that went off to the microswitches in the SpeedLink, or solder onto the bottom or something. And then I thought, look, I have these connectors called DuPont connectors. I presume because the DuPont folk invented them. But this edge connector here that was just sort of used for a this pin connector here that was used just as a bit of a mounting block. You know, the wires came out the back of it in the way that they can, and it wasn't used as a plug, but I can use it as a plug. These DuPont connectors slip in there and make excellent contact. And so that's another sort of degree of freedom I have as I assemble this. I will solder these onto the back of this, completely separate from the box, mount this in here, and then I can set about plugging these into here. And if when I turn it all on something's wrong, I don't have to resolder, I can just plug one of these into the right spot. So the soldering work's done. The casement work is done. The only thing left to do is well, sorry, the soldering work's done here. The only thing left to do is solder those onto there and then plug it all together. Now, the little project to get these nuts super glued onto the back of this DB connector is nearly complete. What we need to do is hold onto the nut and then see if we can, because the super glue invariably gets onto the thread as well. Can we, or is it seized up? Oh yeah, it might be the wrong size Torx driver actually. It's annoying. There is a slightly bigger one. Honestly, Torx is my favourite, and if a Torx bit is ever anything other than very snug, it usually means that it's the wrong size. I just can't put my finger on that other one right now. I think I was using it to build something the other day. All of my sort of engineering screws are Torx. So I've got a set here of Torx stuff. I wonder if that's, oh man, it's wow, majorly too big, that one. Maybe this one? No. Oh, they're not Torx, they're Star. These are Torx. Oh, it's way too big. Where are they? The Star ones are quite sharp on the corners and the... Yeah, I think that's a similar fit. But I'll use this one from my kit to reduce the possibility that I damage my precision Torx thing, because I might have to apply quite a bit of torque. And this is wonderful. It goes in the end or it goes in here. Really not like solid equipment. Yeah, got it. So, oh, it's off camera. So I've got another one. Invariably, some of the super glue gets on the thread, sometimes more, sometimes less. So, oh, that wasn't great. I could hear something crackling. I might have broken the nut off. Only time will tell. So we can put the little shifter down and probably just go with this speed thing. Yep. It's just to aid with assembly. Especially once all the wires are in there, the last thing I want to do is have to fight with it. So I now have threads glued onto the DB connector. Yeah, fun little thing to do. That's how I do it. Plenty in the gap between the connector and the nuts, and that sort of fills that gap up, which means that it can handle quite a bit of torque, I've found. So yeah, that's my connector, and so it can go in there, and then those screws can just drop into the nuts. I can nip it all up without trying to get in there with needle nose pliers or long nose pliers, whatever else. And that's they're lessons for me that have been hard won. Taking the time to plan something out to make assembly as straightforward as possible, make disassembly as straightforward as possible, make correcting mistakes as straightforward as possible, because it's just awful when it's all bundled in together and there's no clear way of telling what went where. And I'll have notes about these colours They're my colours now. I won't worry about these little colour stubs back here. I'll match them if I can, but I probably won't know. I'll just figure out which 7 of these 9 are got to be active. Fire 1, fire 2, up, down, left, right, ground. And I'm assuming it gets power from the computer. And just sort of pull it all together. A couple of things I did think about doing. Now the speedlink joystick we modified had fire button 2, and this USB board supports up to 4 fire buttons. So I thought about putting buttons in this case for the other 4, for buttons 2, 3 and 4. So even with the speedlink I'd have two ways to access button 2. But I just can't be bothered. It does mean if I plug in an old school joystick I won't be able to grab button 2 close to me. Like if if this USB cable runs off to a computer and I'm sitting there with the joystick plugged in, I can't access button 2 without reaching across to the computer. But I think that's fine. What a person could do though, if they were really keen, or if they were, and I won't use this a whole lot either, but someone who was doing a project like this, who was really keen and really wanted to use genuine old sticks with modern like computers under emulation, if this box were quite a bit larger, it would be possible to put 4 proper arcade buttons on here, or at least 3. So you have 1 on the stick and then 3 on here that can be programmed to various things, including jump or something. You could even have a 4th one connected to up for jump. So there are opportunities here to augment the retro joystick through this controller. I'm just not going to do it. I thought about it and it was just all a little bit pesky. The only one I really thought about in the end was maybe doing the button 2 button, but I'm a Commodore guy, and it's a very rare Commodore thing which will take use of a second button, and I don't do a whole lot under emulation anyway, so it's just not something I care about enough. So I won't do it, but it's an idea I had, and somebody else might like that. So I probably won't show you this again. Beautiful gold plug from it's going to be the nicest looking USB DB9 converter that I've ever seen. I can't wait, and I know that the USB function works well because I have used it. I mean, it'll be kind of funny to plug the one we converted back into here and turn it back into a USB joystick. That might be the first thing I'll do. So anyway, how it looks, how it's done, some ideas about how to fit it in a box. This box is only small. Hang on, I'll measure it for you. Small and cheap. There are other options. So this is 83mm by 54mm. Smaller in the bottom, it's got a bit of a taper to it, and I usually arrange these so that they go that way up, with the screws on the bottom. Oh, and this port isn't in the middle top to bottom, it's closer to here, because the box is stronger down here, and you're plugging them in. I didn't want to be flexing this across the top. These things key into each other a bit, but not like the real nice ABS boxes do. But down there it's plenty strong enough. But I just sort of aimed for lower down, and the reason this rapid fire switch is over here is to make sure that it doesn't get damaged or bumped, because we've got the cable.